Marco and Fran are full-time travelers, entrepreneurs, and adventurers who came together from opposite sides of the world. Together, they've built a life of freedom, purpose, and balance while traveling the globe and running their own businesses. What's different now about how you're traveling and the freedom that you have now versus when you first met and you were meeting up for these dates around the world?
We have the freedom to, call the shots, I would say.
Where do you think you each get that from?
I would say I was naive at that time.
What would you say to somebody who feels like they've just become too comfortable in their 9 to 5 and the idea of taking a leap now in their life, it just feels too big of a jump?
Is that living for you? Or is that what society thinks is living?
What were the strategies that you chose to make this leap from a financial standpoint?
We reduce our expenses. We save up. Actually, we only started with $13,000 each.
What are some of the changes you made to your lifestyle where you were like,
I lived 1 year having amazing experiences around the world, and it's the same amount of money I spent a month and a half living in Chicago.
can you share any unexpected challenges that came up or lessons that you had to learn the hard way in the early days of your journey?
So it's like now content creation is a marketing strategy. And before it was our job.
Welcome to Nomad Chats, the podcast that uncovers the stories, the challenges, and the triumphs of digital nomads and world travelers who have redefined what normal looks like. I'm your host. My name is Sam, and today we are diving into the incredible journey of two individuals who not only left their corporate lives behind, but created a lifestyle that's inspiring others to do the same. Marco and Fran are full-time travelers, entrepreneurs, and adventurers who came together from opposite sides of the world. Marco is from the Philippines, Fran from Argentina. Together, they've built a life of freedom, purpose, and balance while traveling the globe and running their own businesses. They're here today to share their journey, the tools, and the lessons that help them with this transition. And of course, tips for balancing the nomad lifestyle while running an online business. Marco and Fran, welcome to Nomad Chats.
Hey, Sam.
Good to see you. So nice. So excited to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on the show. Where in the world are you tuning in from today?
We're
We we don't know who is gonna talk. We are currently from tuning in from Vietnam, Hoi An, which is very well known for digital nomads, I guess.
Yeah. Have you been connecting with many digital nomads while you're there? How do you even find other digital nomads in Hoi An?
there's
That's a very
actually
good question.
yeah, there's actually a big group of digital nomads here. There's so many Facebook groups for digital nomads, but for us, the easiest way to meet digital nomads here, just go to co-working spaces. We
Mm.
haven't done a really good job with that because we really enjoy our coffee shops here. But yeah, there's a big group here, and I'm part of the Facebook groups.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the benefits of traveling with another person is you can get a little bit cozy, get a little bit comfortable. You don't always have to be putting yourself out there, but then the negative side is you're not always putting yourself out there. So you don't benefit from meeting other digital nomads. Is Hoi An your base or where are you finding yourself spending most of your time these days?
Hoi An is not actually our base. We're here for 3 months because they allow us to stay for 90 days with our visa. But we technically don't have a base. We travel full time. We do slow travel though. We try to stay in a country for 3 to 6 months if they allow us
Mm.
with a visa, and that's what we do. We do slow travel, and we run our online business while traveling and um, while fulfilling our dream of traveling the world. So we keep on going through new countries.
So sometimes, like realizing like, wow, it's been 7 years without a home base. It's like, wow, before I thought I will always need, a place where to go back. But now it's been 7 years without a home base.
I love that. Sometimes my husband jokes, home is where my laptop is. And I feel like that's kind of relevant for digital nomads. It's like wherever I want to take this laptop is where we're living for the time period. So 3 months, that's how long you like to stay in one spot.
I mean, usually, like we like that's a sweet spot. Like 3 months, I think it's nice. Sometimes, of course, depending on the visas or depending on what we are up to, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 5, but the sweet spot usually is 3, I think.
Yeah, that's a good amount of time. And you said you've been doing this for 7 years. Wow. Okay. So you're experienced nomads. There's so much we can learn from you. But before we get into those tactical tips, I want to get into a little bit about your story. So it sounds like the two of you are from opposite sides of the world. How did you even meet and connect and decide to go on this nomadic journey together?
So I think I will tell the story then. So
The long story short.
the long story short, if you want the really really long story, then we can let Fran talk. But so I was working in Chicago in the United States, and I had a business trip to Buenos Aires in Argentina. We both worked for the same company before, Accenture. It's an IT consulting company. And then in that business trip, that's where I met Fran. So it was a very very good business trip. But then we instantly got connected, and we had a wonderful night out with our coworkers, and that's where we met. And then we needed to part ways because I live in Chicago, she lives in Argentina. But then we both love traveling, so we decided to meet up in different parts of the world. We tried to align our travels. So we met up in India, we met up in Thailand, and then we met up in Brazil. And then that fourth meeting in Brazil, that's when we were like, hey, I have a dream of traveling the world. We started talking about our dreams and lives. And, we've had 4 international dates already. So, in that fourth international date, maybe let's talk about our future. So we were like, okay, my dream is to travel the world. And she was like, hey, that's my dream too. I want to travel the world. And that's when we became a couple, actually. Like, hey, let's travel the world together.
That was
And
our first commitment.
that's what our first commitment together. And so that's when we made the decision. And since that, we would meet every Sunday to accomplish this dream of traveling the world and quitting our jobs and traveling the world. And within a year, we were able to save up and start our online business and start traveling the world. And the rest is history.
History. Here we are.
So that was an important moment for us in Brazil. That's when we made a decision. It was a very humid night in Brazil. We were overlooking the, what do you call that? Cristo Redentor, the Christ the Redeemer, and that was a memorable night for us because yeah, that's where it all started.
Okay, I love that. It's so beautiful when two people come together and realize they have the same vision for their future. And now I've just found someone who's going to make it so much more fun and easier in many ways to go on this adventure together and learn all of these things for the first time. So you meet in Chicago as colleagues, but very quickly it goes friendship, romance. Would you say? Were you like a long distance couple or were you long distance friends at the beginning? I'm so curious about these locations around the world you were meeting and what was the context?
I think I wouldn't say we were in a long distance relationship. I think we were taking it date by date. It's like we were having fun, so much fun together. Like we both were in like very particular moments in our lives. Like we were having kind of like uh existential crisis, let's say. So we were both like, really enjoying our personal lives, and part of it was having fun with each other. So then, but then like the more dates we had, the more we were like, okay, I think this is kind of getting serious. I mean, like, I think I'm in love with this person. I'm not just having fun anymore. It's like I'm in love with this person. So definitely we didn't expect, I think we were not expecting to fall in love with each other. We were not expecting to travel the world together or start an online business together. I think it's just, like I believe that we were so in love with ourselves and so in love with what we were experiencing that then I don't know, magic happened, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. For some people hearing the story, they might think it sounded like they were already traveling, like you were already meeting up in different locations around the world. So, what's different now about how you're traveling and the freedom that you have now versus when you first met and you were meeting up for these dates around the world? Because you were traveling then too. What was missing?
Right. So when we were traveling on different parts of the world, we were on vacations. Like those are like the
Mm,
1 week vacations, and we try to align our vacations. And we still have our work on on our corporate jobs that time, and we have very limited vacation days. So that was the difference. Like we were just seriously like 1 week vacations. Like for her, she did a more of a 1 month vacation, like just she tried to um, compile all of her vacation days in 1 month so she can go to Asia. But
Nice.
so it's just really aligning our vacation days. So that's very different from what we do now, which is actually full time traveling, and we're able to travel wherever we want, whenever we want.
Yeah, and I think also like we before we were still reporting to someone, I would say. So like when I went to Brazil, uh I was a rebel. In reality, they didn't allow me to work from there, but I did it anyways. So I was like, I'm gonna still do it. I don't have any more vacation days. I only have two, and I really want to do it. So I worked my way, and instead of let's say I was supposed to be working from home, but I was working in reality from Brazil. So it was like, I still needed the approval, and I knew the approval was not going to come, so I did it anyways. uh, but I think that's one of the main things. Like also when Marco was in India, he was there for a business trip, and then he combined it. It's like we before we were combining holidays with work, but in the end the decision was coming from the company, right? I mean, like they allowed us, or they perhaps didn't allow us to take vacation or to work remotely from wherever we wanted. Like in comparison to the past almost 7 years, that is like, okay, we want to work from Hoi An, we work from Hoi An. We want to stay with family in the Philippines for 2 months and work from there. We do it. It's like we have the freedom to, call the shots. I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like you had maximized the benefit in the current opportunity you were in, right? You were like, okay, I get this much vacation days. I'm going to extract as much of the life that I want to be living from this current opportunity, but it still wasn't enough. For you, you wanted to be traveling more. You wanted to be going to the locations when you want for as long as you want. And really, the barrier to that were the jobs that you had. And so you decided that not only are we going to become a couple, not only are we going to travel the world full time, but we're also going to quit our jobs and become entrepreneurs. That takes a level of boldness and courage to do all of those things at the same time. Where do you think you each get that from?
I'm not sure if it's a level of boldness. I would say I was naive at that time. Like these two crazy people, like, and that I realized that very quickly right after, like when we started our online business. I'm like, wow, like starting an online business is not easy. It was very challenging. One of the most challenging things we've done, and it became a personal challenge. Like, no, people are making money online with their online business. We can do this too. And it was a wonderful journey though. It's a wonderful journey of personal development, of learning many new skills. And yeah, it it was one of the best things we've ever done. I think, like making this decision of having taking ownership of our freedom and taking ownership of our finances and how we want to make a living. So that was that was what I would say. We were naive, and then like, whoa, it was very hard, and then we pushed through, and you start figuring out how to make your business work.
Yeah, I would say, I think like we prepare financially, we prepare, like, okay, we knew that we were going to become entrepreneurs, all of that. But I think we were so driven by the excitement of this change that I think we underestimate the big change that was ahead of us. It's like now we were riding the wave, and it's like, oh my God, this wave is so huge. It's like, wow, I didn't expect this. I was just
or
expecting to, enjoy a nice surf, but
or there's so
wow,
many waves.
so many ways. So
And they
I
keep
think
coming.
yeah, and they keep coming. So yeah, I think we didn't realize the big change that we were going to go through, I would say.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I'm sure it sounds like, you were quite young 7 years ago. That's one of the blessings of making these leaps when we're younger, right? We don't really know what we don't know, and it's easier sometimes for us to jump into situations when we don't have security or stability that often comes later in life. I hear that as a barrier for a lot of people who are really comfortable in their 9 to 5 job, and they've come accustomed to that level of comfortability. And so the idea of switching it up seems so much harder. What kind of advice would you say to that person? I really want to figure out exactly how you did it and some of the steps that you took, but what would you say to somebody who feels like they've just become too comfortable in their 9 to 5, and the idea of taking a leap now in their life, it just feels too big of a jump?
Yeah, for me, like actually, I was when I made the decision, I was 37. I do have a comfortable job in Chicago, and I was living in downtown, and like living in a luxurious condo. Actually, I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna give it all this up, and I'm earning six figures that time. Like, oh, this is a big decision for me. What I realized was what I would say to someone who's already comfortable is like at that time I started thinking about what do I want my life to be in the next 5 to 10 years. And when I saw my bosses and my bosses' bosses, like I don't see myself uh, going running this race, and I don't see that's going to be the finish line that I want to end up with. And what I realized is that my worst case scenario is I'm gonna retire at 65 and working on the same job or working on a 9 to 5 job until 65, and I'm gonna retire. And I realized that my that's my worst case scenario, and that's already my current scenario. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna lose anything. Then I need to give myself the permission to make this jump and try it. And what if everything is exactly what I imagined, which is what happened, you know? Um, and so like, hey, if I quit my job and go for it and I fail miserably, the 9 to 5 job will always be there for me. It's just one resume away, and I'm gonna apply for another 9 to 5 job, right? And so that gave me the push and the courage to like, hey, okay, I'm gonna go for this. Worst case, then being an employee is always an option. So
I would say for me, if I ask I would say to this person, is the way you are living right now is the way you want to live? If the answer is no, then you must do something, because we are here. I believe that the purpose that we have is to live, and if you feel like you are not living the way you want, then for what are you living? I think people they overestimate what means, oh, 9 to 5, earning six figures, comfortable job. And I'm like, is that living for you? Or is that what society thinks is living? So if perhaps you can have all those things, I wouldn't say luxury because that doesn't represent luxury for me, right? So I think perhaps if the answer is no, like all these things, they don't represent what the life that I really want to live, then go for it and go for the life that you truly want. Because, and perhaps the first question, because maybe you know that, okay, this is not the life I want. Perhaps, okay, you got one thing that you already know. Maybe you don't know exactly what's the life that you want. So then go and venture yourself and allow yourself to imagine, to know that there is something out there. If there is people living a different life and you admire them and you look at them in social media, it's because it's possible that for you too. So allow yourself to imagine that that's possible for you too. Because I think, like, if the answer is no, then for what are you living? For what do you have the six figures? For what do you have the 9 to 5? For what? For what? If in the end you are living a life that you don't want.
I love that so much. It really sounds like the mental piece of it was a big, important milestone for each of you. Like, you really took time to think about how you wanted your life to look. You sat with your soul, and it was really a lot of inner work that each of you did to get ready to take this leap. What about the financial piece? Because the mental change is a big obstacle for many to overcome, but then there's the reality of what it costs you to live. You were each in stable jobs. How did you financially decide it was the time to make this leap? Were you looking to have a certain amount saved? Were you looking to have a revenue stream that replaced your existing lifestyle? Did you try to just reduce what it cost you to live? What were the strategies that you chose to make this leap from a financial standpoint?
The
I
quick
would say
the quick answer is we did all of that. Everything is
Okay. Okay.
we reduce our expenses. We save up. Actually, we only started with $13,000 each.
Okay.
That's the amount of money in our pockets when we started. I need to remove my all my credit card debts that time. Like living in uh, I was living in the United States, and credit cards was very easy to use, and I got into debt because of that, and I need to remove that, make sure I'm zero debt. Then we save up $13,000 each. And then, yeah, from the beginning, we decided we're going to create Map the Known. Although we didn't have revenue yet when we started, we were like, okay, we have the we have the confidence, I guess, and I would say naive, but we were confident, and we have the certainty. I think that's the word. We have the certainty that we can make this work. So we did everything we can to make our business Map the Unknown work, and
I
that was our that's I think that's how I prepared financially, and we have backup plans just in case we fail miserably. We have a backup of a list of remote jobs that we can do, and the plan, if there's plan A to plan Z, my plan Z was go back to my old job. you know.
and I would say, like, since we were very intentional and we really knew what we wanted, like we were like, we are not gonna lower our standard of living. Like, if we are going to do this, is because it's to do what we want. So, like, what are the things that we want to experience in this life? So what are the things that we need to prepare in order for us to feel like we are doing what we want? Because if I'm not gonna be able to do what I want, then I continue with whatever I'm doing already, right? So it was like, okay, what's the budget that we feel like is gonna allow us, is gonna give us the peace of mind? Okay, like in the beginning, Marco was like 100K, and I was like, uh, I don't think that I need 100K. I mean, like, if I need to save, back then my salary was like $1,000 a month. So I was like, if I need to wait until I'm able to save up $100,000, I don't think I can travel for like quite a while. I don't think I'm gonna make this leap, take this leap anytime soon. So it was like, if that's your budget, then perfect, that's amazing. That's not gonna be my budget. So and I think that's important when you are doing making this leap with someone else, like knowing that you come from different realities and or different situations, I would say. So it's like, hey, maybe you have a different budget than me, but that doesn't mean that we won't do this change together, right? So I was like, hey, maybe for you it's 100K. For me, I don't think it's 100K. Maybe I think it can be a bit of a stretch, maybe 10, 20K. So it was like, then in the beginning was 10K, then it became 13 to 15K. Uh, so I think we also had those hard conversations, like, and knowing how we were going to take this leap together in a way that we both will have peace of mind financially. For Marco was financially, for me it was more like I wanted to have peace of mind on where I'm, like, having a place where to sleep. So we both took care of, like, okay, for Marco was the finances, for me was like, okay, how do we make sure that I'm not gonna sleep in hostels all the time, because I don't want to sleep in hostels all the time, right? So I think based on that clarity, like, I would summarize it in, like, we set the budget, we started our own online business, and we realized that, hey, all this money that we save up, we will intentionally use it to create our online business and create the life we want. So anytime we wanted to invest in a coaches, mentors, it was like we didn't hesitate. It was like, hey, this is fueling what we want. And I think that's a big part of it, because sometimes people is like, yeah, maybe you have tons of money, but you're not using it intentionally to fuel your desires, your dreams. So I think that's
Mhm.
something that we also did, I would say.
Mhm. And I feel like that's more common when you have a steady paycheck where you're just going to get paid from a company the same amount every 2 weeks, every month, no matter how hard you work. It's very easy to get into that trap of make money, spend money versus when you become an entrepreneur. It's like every dollar I make, like, wow, I really earned it. Like I worked for this and therefore I'm going to spend it very wisely. You mentioned that you reduce what it costs you to live in order to make this leap. Practically, what are some of the changes you made to your lifestyle where you were like, we're spending this much money on this and this isn't fueling our desires? This can go.
So that's a really good question. When we first started traveling, our first year we were backpacking. The amount the amount I spent for a whole year traveling and having amazing experiences around the world. But again, we were backpacking that time, so we were traveling cheap that time, and it's the same amount I spent 1.5 months living in Chicago. So that was a
Wow.
crazy number for me when I started looking at my finances. Wow, I live 1 year having amazing experiences around the world, and it's the same amount of money I spent a month and a half living in Chicago in I don't know, like just in one city, you know.
And
Um,
and what do you
so
mean by backpacking? Because I know Fran didn't want to stay in hostels all the time. So
oh yeah, we
what did
did
that
stay
look
in
like?
We compromise.
we compromised. We did stay in hostels on
We
some occasions during in the beginning of our travels, but it was fun also to meet people. We love that part of the
I
of
think
our first year of travel also. But then yeah, we found other ways to find accommodation along the way, like house sitting, and yeah, we always find a way to rent some type of an apartment, like
or
right
I
now.
or I think like what we realize is like I like we don't want to be in a hostel because that's what the only option I have. Like we started like for example, oh, I want to try hitchhiking. I never tried hitchhiking or sleeping in a tent. Okay, let's sleep in the tent. Let's try hitchhiking. So it was again because we wanted to have that experience. It's not because it was the only option. So I think that's where we both compromise. Like the adventurous soul in Marco and my perhaps me with certain standards that okay, if we're gonna do the tent, okay, like we actually like people when they saw us hitchhiking, for example, they were like, "You're not the regular hitchhikers. Like, you don't seem like a." And
What do hitchhikers look like? I don't
we were like,
know.
Yeah,
What do
what does
hitchhikers
that
look like?"
mean?
Yeah,
You smell better.
yeah. So
That's good.
that we received some funny comments. It was like, oh, okay, how do hitchhikers look? So, but I think before we took the leap, also like a few changes. Like for example, we started living together, so I automatically our rent cut to half. Uh, I think Marco particularly he stopped taking Ubers and biking.
Yeah, so I want to go back to that because again, in I had a very expensive life in Chicago, which I didn't know. I thought that was normal. That's just what people do. Like people just go to bars and spend lots of amount of money on alcohol after work because and I cut down all of that. Like seriously, like the year we decided after that Brazil, the year we decided because I have a dream, I have a vision, I'm gonna do this. I transformed. I changed. I stopped taking Uber. I stopped eating out a lot. I start because I was driven with what I wanted. I was able to change a lot of my habits, including not drinking alcohol. You know, like spending lots of money on bars, and yeah, and we cut down on rent, and that helped me zero out my debt and save up money for this dream of ours. So that year was actually one of our best years because we were very driven with our dream.
Yeah, I think for me more than cutting the expenses was like having more income. Like so in my case I started like doing um consulting, like I did a few HR consulting. I started coaching and getting paid for coaching. So for me it was more having also an extra source of income. So it's like I started my side gig, so aside from my 9 to 5. So yeah, that's how we did it.
Beautiful. I love that. What were some of your resources during that phase of your life? So, when you were starting your business, adjusting to life on the road, were you listening to podcasts, reading books? What do you remember about how you were educating yourself to prepare for this change?
I would say like before preparing for the change, I think I was in the last year of my certification as a coach. So there I was like learning a lot that really helped me. I didn't realize back then, but being surrounded by all my teammates who were also like going for changes in their lives, that was like definitely something very useful or helpful, I would say. And I was reading a tons of books about that. So I would say, yeah, like my coaching certification and also the like a bunch of books.
And this is like
Um,
life coaching, or what types of coaching and what types of books were you reading?
Ontological coaching. So it's like ontological life coaching. So it's
Hmm.
mainly focused on the being, self development. So mainly it was also the books were related to that, uh, like around self development mainly.
Okay, got it. You went to go help other people, and in the process, you realized that you were coaching yourself as well. I love that.
Also, yeah.
So for me, so we are very different, definitely. Like I'm more of the how-to guy. Like I'm like, hey, how do we do this? How do we do this? So I my main source was really just the internet. I would Google on how to do things and how to do that, and books. But my books was more of like, hey, how do I do online marketing?
Mm.
So more of like business books and marketing books. That's where I started, but definitely books were my only source at that time, and then we got into podcasts, and then we got into when we start hiring mentors and coaches. That was the game changer for our business. Like this is why let's this is one of my biggest mistake in life. I'm not sure for you, but for me it's like I'm a high achiever and I don't ask for help that much, and I try to do
Mm.
everything my own. And I'm like, no, I just need to step back and like, hey, I need help. I've never done an online business before. And so that was yeah, that was the game changer in our business. That's taking all those knowledge from books and from mentors and coaches, from someone who's already there where we want to go, you know.
And also, I think we started also investing in memberships, like masterclass. So, for example, I gift him like a year membership for Christmas once, and then that was also a way to educate ourselves on like we were able to learn from like entrepreneurs like Sarah Blakely, or big online marketers. So definitely investing in that masterclass membership, like we learn a lot about online business. And then also finance books like uh, Rich Dad Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Think and Grow Rich. Uh,
Those books really
those
help
books really
us
help
change
us.
our mindset. It's more of a mindset thing on how we want to on it's more a mindset thing on how we approach money and finances.
The Richest Man in Babylon, yeah, all those books I think were very, very useful. So
Yeah.
mainly books, podcasts, courses, mentors and coaches.
Just those
Uh,
things.
That's
yeah,
nothing. But yeah,
a few.
we probably
Just
like
a few things.
we spend like more than $20,000 just on educating ourselves just to get into the business, or just to make sure we yeah, we get to the lifestyle that we want. So
Hmm.
people is they're very easy, they they invest a lot on education, and they're okay to invest on education and have a 4-year degree, but after that, after you graduate, like you think investing on education is stops, or learning stops. But no, you need to keep on investing on yourself, because you're going for the next level of your life. You're going to the next level of your freedom. And so that's what realized, yeah, let's keep on investing.
How are you investing in yourselves right now? Is there anything that you're learning or any programs you're going through or any level ups that you are working towards as we enter a new year?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, we are now in a mastermind program. That program is designed to take our business to 7 figures. So this is a big challenge for us. It's actually very, very challenging. And we're putting ourselves out there more. We're releasing more products, and hiring, like now we're hiring more people. So this is there's always some challenges in life, and that 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 we feel very uncomfortable at times going for this big leap of uh of growing our business to 7 figures. But we love challenges.
Yeah. And
I
then
can
we
tell.
continue reading books, and we are planning to do in 2025 a silence meditation retreat.
Okay. That'll be a big one,
Yeah,
especially for
like
you,
I,
Fran, it sounds like.
yeah, I'm actually,
Of
I
course,
did
it
it.
was her idea.
It
Like,
was my
okay.
idea, of course.
Like, okay, let's do it.
Like I did it, well, actually the silence meditation retreat, I did it, the first one I did like 7 or 8 years ago, and it was actually the tipping point to for this big change. So I'm excited to do it again.
I love it. It's the story you've painted for us so far has been a really beautiful one, what where you just naturally followed your passion and your interest, and even just studying and learning about this lifestyle. It sounds like it didn't even feel like a homework or a chore. It was just, of course, we're going to be reading these books. You just completely immersed yourself into this lifestyle and did it together and had this adventurous spirit of let's learn along the way and learn on the go, which is amazing and brave, but it can also come with some unexpected challenges when we're going with the flow and just responding to things that come up as they do. Can you share any unexpected challenges that came up or lessons that you had to learn the hard way in the early days of your journey?
I would say like the very first one is like, since I think we were a bit naive on the online business world. That's why with our clients we are like, guys, like let's nail your online business. Like let's start an online business that is really aligned to you. Like we are very intentional with our coaching programs because we experience the opposite. So I would say one of our online businesses like was in like um well, I would say, how do you paint it this, like when we started this, like we saw that everyone was a travel influencer, right? So because that seemed like, like if you love traveling and you want to start an online business, it seemed like that was the way to go, right? So we were like, okay, like let's do it. We love creating content. Marco loves taking videos and photos. I love asking questions and like and like doing voiceovers. So it was like, okay, content creation, is the way to go, right? But it's very different when you do content creation, um as something like it's part of a system, right? Rather than if you are constantly creating content. So I would say that was one of the main challenges. We didn't know what we were getting into. It was like we didn't, because everyone pictures content creation, is the best thing, but when you are creating content all the time and pitching and like it's like
You mean
it's
pitching to brands and pitching to different companies?
So that was like, it was like, oh wow, like I don't think this is really aligned. I mean, we love content creation, but the way we were doing it, it was not sustainable for the freedom lifestyle that we wanted. So that was really painful because we were like, we did it for so long. And when
We
we
were on our laptops for, yeah, hours
like
in a day
sometimes,
just to get the content out.
yeah, sometimes we would spend like 12 hours a day, in our phones or in our laptops. And it was like, hey, I don't think this is how it was pictured. I think like this is not really aligned to the kind of online business that we want to create and the kind of freedom lifestyle that we want for ourselves. We don't think that this online business is fueling the life we want. So when we had that realization, it was like, wow, oh my god, like we could have saved years of guesswork and these painful realizations just if we would have hired someone that can like perhaps made us realize this faster rather than us doing it and doing all the guesswork. So that was definitely a painful realization just because we saw in social media that was the way it is, so yeah, let's do it. But actually we realized that that's only one way, and that was not our way. For us, it's like nowadays we realize that we only do content creation for certain things. And actually, we created a system, the system that we wanted, that it was aligned to the kind of online business that we wanted and the kind of freedom lifestyle that we wanted. And we only accept content creation that is aligned to that. So it's like now content creation is a marketing strategy. And before it was our job.
No,
So
before it, yeah, before it was our main product.
yeah. So
Mhm.
it's like before content creation was our main product, now is a piece of the system. So
Mhm.
that realization was painful, but definitely we learned a lot from it. And everything we learn now we apply it to the system that we created in our business. So it didn't go to waste. It was just very painful.
Yeah. And I think that really builds off of a lot of the advice that you've been sharing in this podcast, which is ask for help, invest in other coaches, have conversations with people who are already doing this, who are experts in it, so that you can learn what it really takes and avoid a lot of the mistakes along the way. Looking back on this, it sounds like you wish you had, I guess, hired a content creator or spoken to someone to really understand what it would take and whether this lifestyle was even what you dreamt of. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say we did invest in courses for content creation, but they didn't. I don't know, like perhaps it was just a course. It was not a mentor. It was a course where we
Mm,
learned skills, but this content creator didn't really coach us or mentor us. So it was more like us gaining the skills, but still. How am I doing this? Like, is it really aligned to what I'm trying to do? I
mhm.
think I would say that was the big change. I don't know if Marco, you have
For
something to
me,
say.
for me, I would say the biggest challenge was actually, yeah, starting an online business. Like we were very excited traveling. We had an amazing life. We really enjoyed all the memories. And then the online business became a personal challenge. And like, wow, it means I really need to learn new skills, skills in marketing, skills in sales, skills in product development, skills in customer service. I never had that in my 9 to 5 job. Like my 9 to 5 job felt like very easy now. Like, wow, it was easy. That's what you said. I make money every month, whatever, if even if I do a good or a bad job, like, and
Yeah.
um, and like starting the online business was a personal challenge and was a personal development journey for me. That's why we love entrepreneurship now, because like, wow, like we really develop as a person and how we see things, how we communicate to people. Being good in sales means being a good listener. Like, wow, it improved me becoming a better communicator also. So that was the biggest challenge that I didn't know I was gonna go through when we started our online business.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being real about that because I think too many people are selling this dream of making all this money, working from your laptop, traveling the world, all these get quick schemes. And if it sounds too good to be true, it's usually too good to be true. So I really appreciate that. Of course, you're 7 years in. You shared with us, you have your eyes set on seven-figure business and you're working towards that. So as we wrap up today's conversation, what does a typical day look like for you now and how are you making sure that you find that balance between enjoying the journey and enjoying the freedom lifestyle and this life that you're building while also building a business that's growing significantly next year?
So since we switched this lifestyle, our mornings became like what they call, like, I don't know what's the word for that. Like
Um, a treasure.
a treasure. Like our mornings
Mm.
like a treasure, because when I was working in a 9 to 5 and I was in an IT consultant, well, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I have 7 a.m. meeting with India. I have a 8 a.m. meeting with one of our teams or with my boss. My mornings gets filled up with meetings and like with things that probably is not the things that I wanted to do actually. So our mornings like are the best part of our day actually. Like we would wake up and we would have our mornings just for ourselves, and that is priceless for us. So we would usually wake up by 6 a.m. We do yoga, we do meditation, we read, and we do journaling, and then we do some type of activity like workout or go for a run or even just walk by the beach. We love the beach, so we always find accommodations close to the beach, and then we do our long beach walks, and that's our morning. And then we eat breakfast, and then we share our journals. So in our journal, like, what are you excited to do today? Like we always make sure that, hey, you're doing something that you're excited to do for the day. It may be, hey, I just want to chill today, or it may be, hey, I want to work on this client, or I want to work on this project, I want to work on this part of the business, or it may be, hey, I want to explore a new a new place, or I want to go to this restaurant. So we balance it out like that, and then when we do focused work, we usually work like 4 hours a day, 4 hours focused work. We realize that, especially when we are on the content creation business before, like working 8 to 12 hours a day doesn't work for us. Like it's just unproductive. Like we we were more productive, or we deliver more stuff, or we make our business grow faster if we do 4 hours focused work. even even if we were working together, we actually would be like, hey, this is the last time you can ask me a question because I'm going to my focus work, like, and being able to focus and do that focus work. And then we balance it with some happy hours. We call it happy hours. It doesn't involve alcohol. It involves
It's
like,
not a margarita.
it's actually involves something that you enjoy doing. Like I would play volleyball, or uh, I would go, or we would just go to a restaurant, or we would just walk around in a new part of the city, like something that makes you happy, and then that energizes us to do some focus work do some focus work again. And then um and then that's it. We try to balance it out like that. Some days are chill, some days are, hey, focus work. And if we have a big project coming, we call it a hackathon. We do sprints. And but anyway, we still balance it with what we call happy hours.
Yeah, I would say balance maybe might look different depending on the season where we are in, but that definitely was one of the challenges, because before we had a 9 to 5, right? Like, that you have breakfast before going to work, and then like you work, your routine is kind of ruled by the 9 to 5, right? So that was definitely a challenge. Now it's like, oh wow, I love this freedom. What do I do with all this freedom, right? It's like, how do I organize my day in a way that I don't feel overwhelmed, that I feel balanced, that I feel excited. So definitely this routine that we have now was from the lessons that we learned on how to actually make the most of our freedom. So our freedom is still a gift, and it's not something that overwhelms us. So now that freedom is something that we treasure, and that we are able to use it in our advantage, thanks to this routine that we created along the years.
And then I just want to add something, because like in the beginning we were like, hey, I want to work on a business. And when we're working on the business, I feel bad not exploring, or not, we're traveling and we're not exploring this new country. But when we're exploring, because we're passionate about our business, I feel bad I'm not working on the business. So I'm like, hey, I never win. So actually, this having a routine and having that balance actually help us to actually, hey, I'm doing what I want. I'm working in a business. I'm exploring, traveling, and I'm able to spend time with the people I love, and we were able to go
With
on
your
dates
wife.
with your wife. and and that's it. And then we usually end the day by 6 or 7 with a dinner. We love trying new restaurants. We love this. We call it international dates. That's why we travel and we try new restaurants in different parts of the world. And then that's how we usually unwind. And then by 9 p.m. we're probably in bed already. We like to sleep early now.
Thank you. Yeah, that's such a beautiful depiction of what life looks like for the two of you. And it sounds like this routine not only really grounds you, but it also has evolved over time. And it likely will continue to evolve over time. So thank you for that. You've shown us that traveling can be more than just a way to see the world. This is really an opportunity to discover ourselves and create that life of freedom and purpose. As we wrap up, where can our listeners connect with you, follow your journey, learn more about your resources that you offer? Where should we send them?
They can find us in at Map the Unknown. Like, even our website is also Map the Unknown. Instagram, Map the Unknown. Like, in all our socials, they can find us as Map the Unknown.
Perfect. We'll make sure to include that in the show notes. Thank you for joining us, everyone, today for Nomad Chats. If Marco and Fran's story has inspired you to rethink your lifestyle or take a leap on your own, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep moving towards the life you love. Bye.